Hi One Kids, we've got a bit of a fishing theme going on today, and a bit later on I'll show you how you can make one of these fishing rods with some fish on the end of it. But before we do that, we've got a story. So this story is called Jesus' Special Friends. And Jesus grew up in a place called Galilee, where there was a large and beautiful lake, and it was there that he began the work that God had given him to do. God is a king, he told the people, and he wants all of you to be part of his kingdom, to love him and to love each other. People liked to hear Jesus talk. In fact, one morning the crowd was so huge that Jesus was nearly pushed into the sea. "Excuse me," Jesus asked a fisherman, "could I borrow your boat for a while?" The fisherman's name was Peter. "Of course," he said, "it's doing me no good. I was out all night and I didn't catch a thing." Jesus climbed into the boat. Peter rowed it a little way from the shore, and from there Jesus talked to the crowd. When he'd finished, Jesus sent the people home. And then he turned to Peter. "Let's go out a little further," he whispered. "I'd like to catch some fish." Peter tossed his head back and laughed. "I told you, my men and I have been out all night and we caught nothing." Jesus didn't say a word. He just smiled and looked across the lake. "All right," Peter sighed, "if that's what you want." So Peter sailed to the deepest part of the lake. Then he dropped his fishing nets over the side. It took no time at all. The net started pulling and jerking and stretching, and it was all Peter could do to keep the boat from tipping over. "Help!" Peter called to some friends. "Help me, please!" And they rowed to him as fast as they could. Then, all together, the men pulled on the nets and the fish came tumbling and slapping onto the decks of the boat. Red fish, blue fish, and not just one or two fish. So many, in fact, that the boats would have sunk had the fishermen not rowed quickly back to the shore. Peter looked at the fish. Peter looked at his friends. Then Peter looked at Jesus and fell to his knees trembling. "Only God or somebody full of power could do that," Peter said. "And why would someone like that go fishing with the likes of me?" Jesus shook his head and smiled. "Don't be scared," he said. "God has given me a lot of work to do, and I need helpers. Helpers like you and your friends. Once you fished for fish, but from now on you'll be fishing for people and helping me bring them to God." Then Jesus stepped out of the boat and walked away across the shore. "Come with me," he called, and Peter and his friends watched him go. They looked at the fish, they looked at each other. Then they dropped their nets, left their boat, and raced off to follow Jesus. Right, okay, so it's craft time. We are going to make a fishing rod with some fish on the end of the line to tie in with our story today. So, you're going to basically need a cardboard tube. And if you haven't got a long one, you could always stick some smaller ones together like I've done. Some paper, some string, some felt tip pens, and you'll probably need some sticky tape and some scissors as well. So the first thing you've got to do is make the fish. So, just get some paper and fold it up like that, okay? And then you can draw around a fish shape if you need to, or you can just cut it. So I'm just going to cut it because it's quite a simple shape, isn't it? And then as you folded all of the paper together, that should mean when you finish cutting that you'll actually have quite a few fish, which makes it easier rather than cutting them all out individually. So there we go, we've got a few fish. And what you can do is you can use some felt tip pens to decorate those. And we're going to write some names on those, but I'll explain about that in a second. Now, the other thing you need to do is if you haven't got a long cardboard tube and you need to stick them together, then you just need some sticky tape and just carefully stick round so that you've got a nice long fishing rod stick. And then once you've done your fish, what you're going to do is you're going to cut some string and sticky tape the string onto the back of the fish and then thread it through the rod and then just do as many fish as you like. Now on my fish, I've written name ? And the reason I've done that is because I thought it would be really good to think about different people who we can pray for or who we can try to connect with or who we could try to tell about Jesus and write their names on the back of one of the fish. And then you can use that as a reminder to keep on praying for them and thinking about them. So it's not just a craft activity, it's a prayer activity as well. So let's just have another look. So by the time you've finished, you should end up with a line full of lovely, bright, colourful fish and a fishing rod. I hope you enjoy that.
Have any of you ever been fishing? It is quite fun, really. And it doesn't take much either, really. You need a fishing rod, but you need some bait to put on the line. And whether it's a worm or a smaller fish, you need something that will catch the fish's eye and make it bite. And Jesus wants us to be fishers of people. And like anyone who's good at fishing, we need to have good bait. And the best bait is the love of God. So when we love others the way Jesus loves us, we show people how much Jesus loves them. And nothing draws people to Jesus more than seeing real love in action. And Jesus is asking us to reach out to others and share the good news. So let's love